There is a strange beauty in pain, a truth that only reveals itself after the battle is over. When you look at your scars, physical or emotional, you are staring at the evidence of your courage. They are not stains of failure, but marks of confrontation. To have a scar means you faced something that tried to destroy you, and you did not run. You stood in the storm, trembling perhaps, but still standing. That is not weakness, that is the deepest form of strength. We live in an age that worships perfection, where people hide their wounds behind filters and smiles. But reality does not care about appearances. The world shapes us through struggle. Growth demands engagement with pain, not its avoidance. Your scars are the proof that you didn't merely survive existence. You participated in it. You entered the chaos, the uncertainty, the heartbreak, and you emerged changed. Every scar whispers the same truth. I existed. I cared about something deeply enough to be hurt by it. Healing, contrary to what we are told, is not soft. It's an act of confrontation. When you heal, you don't erase the pain, you integrate it. The wound becomes part of your story, not as a reminder of weakness, but as evidence of transformation. To carry scars is to carry wisdom, because only those who have been broken can truly understand wholeness, and only those who have suffered deeply can offer genuine compassion. Your scars define the contours of your humanity. They mark the places where you met life head-on, where you risked something, love, trust, faith, hope, and paid a price for it. But that price was not in vain, because what is real always demands sacrifice. If nothing was risked, nothing was real. Those who never struggle, who never get hurt, live in safety, but safety is sterile. It produces comfort, not character. So when you look at your scars, don't wish them away, honor them. They are sacred signatures of your becoming, reminders that you didn't surrender to despair, that you dared to believe life was worth the fight. Every scar says you fought for something real, and that is the only kind of life worth living. Every scar tells a story not of fragility, but of endurance. When you look at the mark left behind by a wound, you are not seeing evidence of destruction, but of recovery. A scar means you were injured, yes, but it also means you healed. It is the body's signature of survival, the mind's evidence of confrontation. We live in a world obsessed with hiding flaws, yet the truth is that the most authentic people you'll ever meet are the ones who wear their scars, physical, emotional, or spiritual, with quiet dignity. They do not hide from what they've endured. They understand that every mark is a map of where they have been and what they have overcome. Weakness is not found in being hurt. It is found in pretending you never were. To deny your pain is to deny your humanity. Those who carry scars have faced something real: loss, betrayal, failure, heartbreak, fear. They've stood before chaos and let it strike them, knowing that avoidance only leads to decay. A scar means you entered the fire and came out changed. It is not a shameful thing to bear. It is the signature of courage, because only those who fight, who fall, and who rise again can ever claim to have lived fully. The unscarred are not the strong, they are simply the untested. When you trace your scars, you are tracing the geography of your growth. Each one represents a confrontation, a battle between who you were and who you had to become. Some people wear invisible scars, the ones carved by words, by disappointment, by self-doubt. But whether seen or unseen, every scar is an artifact of transformation. It means that, at some point, you refused to stay broken. It is the memory of pain that no longer controls you. It's the living proof that you are no longer the same person who was once wounded. Scars also humble us. They remind us that life is not meant to be painless, that strength is forged in adversity, not in ease. Without battle, there is no growth. Without struggle, no substance. A life without scars may look perfect from the outside, but it is hollow within. Those who bear their scars have earned the wisdom that comfort can never teach, the wisdom of endurance, empathy, and perspective. A scar says, I have suffered and survived, therefore I understand. It grants you the strength to help others navigate their own darkness because you've walked through it yourself. So, instead of hiding your scars, let them speak. Let them remind you and the world that you have lived, fought, fallen, and risen again. Each one is a silent testament to the battles that shaped you into someone deeper, more resilient, more human. Scars are not signs of weakness. They are medals of honor awarded by life itself, proof that you have faced the storm and are still standing. And if you listen closely, every scar has the same story to tell. I was broken, but I refused to stay that way. Pain is not the enemy, it is the proof that you are alive, that you are engaged with existence rather than merely observing it from a distance. To feel pain means you have stepped into the arena of life, where risk and reward coexist. Those who live safely behind the walls of comfort never truly encounter themselves. They may avoid the sharp edges of suffering, but they also miss the profound depth of meaning that comes from struggle. Pain, in its most honest form, is the evidence that you cared about something deeply enough for it to hurt. It's the body's, the soul's, and the heart's way of saying, you are involved in something real. To live without pain is to live without significance. The person who avoids discomfort, who shields themselves from failure, rejection, or loss, also shields themselves from growth, love, and transformation. Pain is not a punishment. It's a teacher, brutal, yes, but fair. It exposes the truth about who you are and what you value. Every person who has built something meaningful, whether a relationship, a career, or an identity, has done so through pain. It is the cost of creation, the price of engagement with the world. If you are in pain, it means you have not turned away from life. You are still fighting, still hoping, still striving. There is a strange paradox in pain. It destroys illusions, but reveals authenticity. When life breaks you open, it strips away the superficial. Your pride, your false certainties, your delusions of control. What's left behind is something raw and real. Pain forces you to confront yourself, the parts of you you'd rather ignore. It compels you to grow, to reorder your values, to understand what truly matters. And though the process feels unbearable at times, it is also sacred. Because without that confrontation, there is no awakening. To hurt is to evolve. To feel pain is to be in the process of becoming someone stronger and more truthful than before. The people who have suffered deeply often carry a certain gravity, a kind of quiet strength that cannot be faked. They have seen how fragile life is, and because of that, they cherish it more fully. Their laughter has depth because it was born after tears. Their wisdom has weight because it was purchased through suffering. Pain, in this sense, refines the soul. It transforms the naive into the wise, the fearful into the brave, the fragile into the resilient. To have suffered is to have participated in the fundamental reality of existence, that growth and loss are inseparable, that life demands engagement even when it hurts. So when pain visits you, don't curse it immediately. Don't assume it means you've failed or that something has gone wrong. Pain is often the evidence that something important is happening, that you are alive, present, and evolving. It is the mark of someone who dared to care, who risked something, who didn't settle for apathy or numbness. To live fully is to accept that pain will walk beside you, not as a tormentor, but as a companion guiding you toward depth, courage, and meaning. The absence of pain is not peace, it is emptiness. But the presence of pain, when faced with strength, becomes the greatest proof that you are participating in life itself. Healing is often misunderstood. Many people imagine it as a soft, peaceful journey, a gentle fading of pain, a gradual forgetting of what hurt them. But true healing is far from gentle. It is not the act of escaping pain, but of facing it head on You cannot heal from what you refuse to confront. The human soul doesn't repair itself through avoidance. It rebuilds itself through engagement. Confrontation with your memories, your mistakes, your fears is the foundation of transformation. Avoidance only buries the wound deeper, letting it fester in the dark. Healing begins the moment you stop running and decide to face the truth, no matter how painful it may be. Avoidance feels safe, but it is a slow poison. When you avoid what hurt you, you also avoid what could free you. You suppress emotions, rewrite memories, and distract yourself with temporary relief. But the pain doesn't vanish, it waits. It hides beneath the surface, shaping your reactions, your relationships, your world. Every unhealed wound becomes a lens through which you see reality. It distorts your perception, turning love into fear, opportunity into threat. Confrontation, on the other hand, is an act of courage. It means choosing discomfort over denial. It means saying, I will not let my past dictate my future. I will face what broke me, and I will understand it. The process of confrontation is brutal because it demands honesty. It forces you to look at yourself, not the version you present to the world, but the one you hide. You must revisit the moments you swore you'd never think about again. You must feel the pain you tried to numb, listen to the anger you tried to silence, acknowledge the grief you tried to outpace. Healing asks for your presence, not your pretense. It is not about forgetting what happened, but about integrating it, turning the wound into wisdom. Only when you face the pain consciously can it lose its power over you. What you avoid controls you. What you confront, you begin to master. Real confrontation also means taking responsibility, not for what others did to you that's not yours to carry, but for how you choose to respond now. You cannot rewrite the past, but you can refuse to remain its victim. Healing means saying, yes, this happened, it hurt me, but it will not define me. This level of ownership is terrifying because it strips you of excuses. It forces you to act, to rebuild, to grow. Yet paradoxically, it's also liberating. The moment you confront your pain, you reclaim the authority over your own story. The wound that once enslaved you becomes the very source of your strength. So understand this, healing is not the absence of pain, it is the integration of it. It's a battle fought in silence, a slow and sacred act of courage. Confrontation does not make you weaker, it makes you whole. Every step you take toward your pain, rather than away from it, reclaims a piece of your freedom. Avoidance keeps you trapped in a cycle of repetition, but confrontation opens the door to transformation. To heal is to look directly into the darkness that once terrified you and realize it no longer has power over you. Healing requires confrontation, because only by walking through the fire can you ever emerge reborn. Suffering is not merely a burden to be escaped, it is a sculptor chiseling away at the shallow parts of our being until something deeper, wiser, and more resilient emerges. When life strips away comfort, certainty, and control, it forces you to look inward to discover who you are beneath the surface. Suffering exposes the foundations of your character. It tests your integrity, your patience, your faith. Without it, your virtues remain unproven theories, untested ideals. Only through pain do you learn what truly matters. Only through struggle do you develop substance. Depth is not given, it is earned through endurance. We often wish for easy lives, yet easy lives produce fragile people. Comfort breeds complacency, and complacency breeds emptiness. When everything is smooth, the soul grows shallow. It never learns to wrestle with the chaos that defines existence. Suffering, though brutal, gives texture to the human spirit. It teaches empathy because you know what it's like to hurt. It cultivates humility because you realize how little control you truly have. It strengthens gratitude because you've experienced the absence of peace. Every person of real wisdom, authenticity, or strength has walked through pain. It is suffering that deepens the soil of the soul, making it fertile enough for wisdom to take root. Character is not formed in moments of ease. It is forged in the crucible of difficulty. When everything falls apart, when the people you trusted leave, when the future you planned disintegrates, that's when character is born. In those moments, you are forced to decide who you will be. The victim or the victor, the bitter or the better, the one who collapses or the one who rebuilds. Suffering demands that choice. It pushes you to face yourself without illusions, to rebuild your foundation not on pride or pleasure, but on truth. That's why those who suffer deeply often carry a quiet authority. They have walked through fire and learned that strength is not loud, it's steady. There's a sacred paradox in suffering. The very thing that breaks you also builds you. The heartbreak that shatters your illusions also opens your heart to deeper love. The failure that humbles your ego also awakens your hunger to grow. The loss that devastates you also teaches you impermanence, the fragility of all things. When you suffer consciously, when you stop cursing the pain and start learning from it, every wound becomes a doorway to understanding. It is not that suffering automatically makes you better. It's that suffering invites you to become better. It gives you the raw material for wisdom, but you must shape it with courage. So when life wounds you, as it inevitably will, remember this. Suffering is not a punishment. It is a passage. It is the path through which shallow existence becomes meaningful life. You cannot cultivate depth without first being broken open. You cannot develop compassion without having bled. And you cannot know true strength until you have felt complete weakness. Every scar, every heartbreak, every loss, they are the hands that sculpt your soul into something vast enough to hold truth, pain, and beauty all at once. Suffering gives depth to character because it forces you to confront the raw reality of being alive, and to emerge from it not just breathing, but transformed. Real victory is rarely loud. It doesn't come with applause or trophies. It is born in silence in the long, unbearable hours when everything inside you wants to give up, but something deeper refuses. Endurance is the truest form of triumph because it is proof that your spirit was stronger than your suffering. The world often teaches us to equate winning with dominance or control. But life is not a game you can master through power alone. Life tests you through resistance, through heartbreak, rejection, loss, and despair. And in those moments, the question isn't did you win, but did you endure? Because endurance is not just survival. It is defiance, the quiet, unyielding statement that says, I am still here. The things that try to break you are often the very things that reveal your strength. When you're stripped of comfort, certainty, and validation, you meet your raw self, the unguarded, unpolished, real version of you. That encounter is terrifying because endurance exposes everything false. It tears away pride and illusion until only truth remains. You learn that strength isn't about feeling invincible. It's about continuing even when you feel powerless. Enduring pain, loss, or disappointment doesn't mean you're weak. It means you've chosen to remain engaged with life even when it hurts. That choice, repeated day after day, is victory. Because anyone can fight when hope is easy, but only the truly strong can fight when hope is faint. Endurance is the silent rebellion against despair. It's waking up on the days you feel broken and deciding to move forward anyway. It's forgiving when bitterness would be easier. It's standing tall when everything around you urges collapse. The world rarely sees these victories. They happen in the dark, behind closed doors, within the quiet spaces of your mind. But they are the victories that matter most. They shape the soul in ways no external success ever could. The person who endures learns patience, humility, and courage, not as ideals, but as lived realities. And through that endurance, they become unshakable, not because life stopped hurting, but because they stopped running from the hurt. Enduring what tries to break you also teaches faith, not blind optimism, but the kind of faith that comes from surviving the impossible. You begin to see that pain, no matter how relentless, always passes, that storms, no matter how violent, always end. You learn that endurance doesn't mean being unaffected. It means being unbroken in spite of being wounded. It's a quiet kind of wisdom, the understanding that every trial, every loss, every fall was preparing you for something greater. Through endurance, suffering becomes sacred. It purifies the soul of all that is unnecessary and reveals the essence of what truly matters. So, when you face the weight of life, when the world feels heavy and your heart is tired, remember this: your ability to endure is your greatest weapon. Real victory isn't about escaping the storm. It's about learning to walk through it without losing yourself. Every time you survive something that was meant to destroy you, you rewrite the story of your strength. You become living proof that resilience is more powerful than circumstance. Endurance is not passive. It is the ultimate act of courage. Because to endure is to declare, even in your weakest moment, that nothing can break me completely, not as long as I choose to stand. That is real victory.